Welcome back to another one of my videos. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Lotta, and today I'm going to show you how I made this beautiful Black Forest cake. So the second video that I posted on my channel was a very traditional Black Forest cake. So if you do want to see that video, it is going to be linked up there as well. But I figured 2 years later it was time for me to remake that video and switch things up a little bit. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's video where I'm going to show you how I made this newer take on a Black Forest cake. Now the first thing we need to make is our cherry fruit insert. So for that you're going to need 1 package or 9 grams of ground gelatin, 30 grams of sugar, the juice of half a lemon, and 1 glass of sour pitted cherries. Now for reference, this one is 28 fluid ounces or 796 milliliters. Now before we get right into it, I'm going to start by just draining off my cherries just to see how much juice I'm actually left with. And that way I can go through the cherries and make sure that there's no seeds left in it, because I know sometimes there's still 1 or 2 left in there. And we do not want to mix that up into our fruit insert. Oh, okay. Now, as always, when dealing with cherries, I recommend putting a safe distance between you and the cherry juice, because else it will go all over you. I mean, this time I am wearing an apron, but still, I don't want my apron covered in cherry juice. So I'm going to step very far back. There we go. And if you want to use any cherries for some decorations on top, this is also the time to set them aside. Now I ended up taking out 16 cherries, but again, you can take out as many or as little cherries as you want for your decorations on top. Now, like I said, I'm just going through these cherries just to make sure that there's no seeds left in it, because we are going to puree our cherries, so I don't want like cherry seeds all throughout our fruit insert. That would be quite gross. So I'm just kind of opening up, making sure that they are seedless. Seems really unnecessary, but the amount of times that I've had leftover cherry seeds inside of my seedless cherries is actually insane. Watch this glass not have a single seed in it, and I'm just doing this for absolutely no reason. Okay. I'm literally doing this for no reason right now. I got one. Oh my god, no way. That's actually crazy. Okay. Nice. I mean, at least there was 1 seed in there, so we didn't do it for nothing. Now, I'm left with about 400 milliliters of my cherry juice. So I'm going to take out 250 milliliters because I'm going to need that later on for my glaze that's going to go on the top of my cake, as well as to add some more flavor to our sponge cake. And now the rest of our cherry juice I'm just going to add to my cherries, and we're going to puree this until we have a nice smooth cherry consistency. Now that we've basically got a cherry smoothie, we can go ahead and add that alongside our sugar and our lemon juice into a pot. And we're going to bring that up to a boil on medium-high heat. Now while we're waiting for our cherry mixture to come up to a boil, we can go ahead and prep our gelatin. Essentially, all we're going to do is mix our gelatin with a splash of water and quickly mix that around. And then we're just going to let that sit for about 10 minutes or so. Now I let my cherry mixture boil for about 2 to 5 minutes just to thicken up a little bit and get nice and warm. Now at this point, I'm going to let it cool off just for about 5 minutes or so before we whisk in our gelatin. That's just because gelatin doesn't like it super hot, and if this were to still be at a boiling temperature, our gelatin would lose its binding capabilities, and that's obviously not what you want because you want a nice thick filling for your cake and you don't want it to run out everywhere. So we're going to let it cool off just for a little bit and then really quickly whisk in our gelatin. Now that our gelatin is completely dissolved, we can go ahead and transfer our cherry mixture into 2 bowls that are pre-lined with some plastic wrap and that are slightly smaller than the size of our cake. Now the plastic wrap is important because else our gelatin mixture is going to stick to our bowl and it's going to be super difficult to get it out, which is obviously not going to make layering the cake very easy. So just layer it with a thin layer of plastic wrap to make sure that all the sides are covered, and that should do just fine. Now our cherry inserts do need to chill for about 4 hours to let the gelatin completely set. It is minus 28 where I am right now, so I think I can quicken up the process just a little bit by letting these chill in the garage where it is a little bit cooler than the fridge temperature. But you basically just want to make sure that these are completely set before you start layering your cake. Now the next thing we need to make is our chocolate sponge cake so we can get that cooled off. So for our sponge cake, we're going to need 6 room temperature eggs, 175 grams of sugar with a pinch of salt, 150 grams of flour, 25 grams each of cornstarch and cocoa powder, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. Now once again, there's already a step-by-step guide on how I make my sponge cake with some tips and tricks as well. So if you want to watch that, it's going to be linked up there. But essentially all we're going to do is whisk up our eggs, sugar, and salt until that's super light and fluffy for about 10 to 15 minutes or so. And in the meantime, we can already sieve together our dry ingredients to make sure that there's no lumps or clumps. Now that our egg mixture is super fluffy like this, we can carefully fold in our dry ingredients. Now I prefer to sieve it over my egg mixture one more time just to make sure that our flour mixture is super light and fluffy and it's not weighing down our egg mixture. And I also like doing this in 2 sections, again, just so it doesn't weigh down our egg mixture. Our cake can now wander into the oven that's been preheated to 392 degrees Fahrenheit or 200 degrees Celsius, and it's going to bake for about 35 to 40 minutes. But again, depending on your oven, this might go 5 minutes faster or it might take 5 minutes longer. So just keep an eye on it, and if you think it's baked through, just take it out of the oven. Now before we can get to assembling our cake, we need to make our whipped cream filling. That being said, it's literally just whipped cream. So we're using 1 whole liter of whipped cream, 2 packages of vanilla sugar. Alternatively, you can just use a couple teaspoons of sugar and add a splash of vanilla extract. And I'm also going to be using 4 packages of Sahnesteif, which is a whipped cream stabilizer. Each package is good for about 250 milliliters of liquid. And since we're using 1 liter, I'm going to be using 4 packages. Again, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. It's just going to make sure that our cake is really nice and rock solid and it's not going to shimmy around and the cream isn't going to get soft. But again, if you don't have it, don't worry about it. It's not the end of the world. Your whipped cream should be fine as long as you whip it up until you have some nice stiff peaks. That being said, if you don't have a really big mixing bowl, you can always just go ahead and whisk up your cream into separate batches. I'm going to put my cream into the fridge for now while I get everything ready for layering. Now at this point we can also get to layering. Now I already went ahead and cut my cooled off sponge cake into 3 even layers. I also transferred some of my whipped cream into a piping bag with just a round nozzle just to make it a little bit easier to pipe and layer everything. I also took about 50 milliliters of my cherry juice that we set aside earlier, which we're going to use for our sponge cake. And my fruit inserts are also completely set and chilled. Now, like with most of our layered cakes, we're going to take a layer of our sponge, add a little bit of our cherry juice. We're going to pipe a border of our whipped cream as well as 1 layer, and then add our fruit insert. And then we're basically just going to repeat that for the next layer as well. I'm also going to be using one of these cake boards or whatever they're called just to make it a little bit quicker to get a nice smooth edge on the outside. These cake boards are basically just ever so slightly bigger than the normal cake tins. That way when you're adding your icing, you kind of just match your scraper up to the edge and then it goes really quickly and you don't need to do a crumb coat and a second coat. And we know that I'm impatient and I like saving time. So
here's to the good days, here's to the sorrows. If this is a mistake, I know about tomorrow. I don't wanna fight no more, cause I don't feel the need no more, no. Just wanna make it stop. Maybe it's something in the water, or maybe we just hit the end of the road. Right now it doesn't even matter. It's too late not to let it go. And that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, cause we both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much as this does. We had a good run, don't say we didn't. I was your first love, and you were my first one. Cheers to all the memories, the venom and the remedies, yeah. Promise I won't forget, yeah. Maybe it's something in the water, yeah. Or maybe we just hit the end of the road. Right now it doesn't even matter, yeah. It's too late not to let it go. And that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, cause we both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much as this does. So baby, bye. It's for the best and you know why. You gotta leave me here tonight before we make this even worse. It's gonna hurt even more than this does. We gave it all we had. It's time to say bye, baby, bye. I'll be, you'll be, yeah, we'll goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry.
At this point, we're basically just going to cover the top and our sides with the whipped cream, and we're going to smooth it down to make sure that we get a nice smooth edge. Our cake can now wander into the fridge to chill while we get our chocolate drip ready, as well as our glaze that's going to go on top. The next thing we need to make is our cherry glaze that's going to go on the very top of our cake. So for that, I'm going to use the leftover 200 milliliters of our cherry juice, 1 glaze package, and about 2 teaspoons of sugar. Now essentially all we're going to do is put this all into a pot and bring it up to a boil. As it boils, our cherry juice is going to get a lot more clear and it's going to thicken up a little bit. And then we just need to let it cool off ever so slightly before we can move on to decorating our cake. Now as we let this cool off, we want to just make sure that we're mixing it around every now and then just to make sure that there's not a layer on top that kind of solidifies already. Now in the meantime, I already went ahead and melted down some of my leftover ganache in a water bath. This is about 100 grams of my ganache. I'm not going to use all of it, so if you're making ganache from scratch, honestly 50 grams of chocolate and 50 milliliters of cream is more than enough. Alternatively, you can always just melt down about 50 grams of dark chocolate and use that instead. There we go. Gonna let this cool off a little bit as well. Now to decorate the cake, I think I'm going to do a chocolate drip with my ganache down the side of the cake, not the top, just the sides. Then I'm going to use my leftover whipped cream with just a spiky tip to do a little bit of piping on the very top and kind of make, in a way, a border up there. And then put on a couple cherries. And then in the center of my whipped cream border that I'm going to pipe, I'm going to pour my semi-cooled off cherry glaze. I think it'll look cute, but we won't know until it's done. So yeah, let's grab my cake.
Here's to the good days, here's to the sorrows. If this is a mistake, I know about tomorrow. I don't wanna fight no more, cause I don't feel the need no more, no. Just wanna make it stop. Maybe it's something in the water, or maybe we just hit the end of the road. Right now it doesn't even matter. It's too late not to let it go. And that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, cause we both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much as this does. We had a good run, don't say we didn't. I was was your first love, and you were my first one. Cheers to all the memories, the venom and the remedies, yeah. Promise I won't forget, yeah. Maybe it's something in the water, or maybe we just hit the end of the road. Right now it doesn't even matter, it's too late not to let it go. And that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, 'cause we both know it's gonna hurt, but not as much.
Now our cake just needs to chill before we can cut into it and try a piece.
It's for the best and you know why. You gotta leave me here tonight before we make this even worse.
And there's our Black Forest cake. So that's going to be everything for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up or write me a comment down below. And as always, the whole recipe is going to be in the description box as well. And I'll see you next Sunday with another cake recipe.
Be fine. So let's call it a night, and that's why I wish you the best and say goodbye. You start to get dressed and then we cry, 'cause we both know